All right, everybody, get ready to dive into a world, how do I even describe it?
Clattering tiles. Calculated moves.
Yeah, all of that. Because today we're diving into Hong Kong-style Mahjong, and let me tell you, after going through everything you sent over, I'm starting to get why you want to start a whole podcast on this. It's so much more than just a game.
It really is. It's fascinating how it kind of sits at this intersection of chance, skill, tradition. You're not just playing your hand, you're participating in something much
You're
bigger.
shuffling through history every time you shuffle those tiles, huh?
Exactly.
So for those of us who maybe are only familiar with those more, I don't know, casual versions of Mahjong, what is it about the Hong Kong style that sets it apart?
All right, so imagine this. Early 20th century, Hong Kong's this incredible melting pot of cultures, right? Each one's bringing its own flavor of mahjong to the table. And Hong Kong's style, well, it emerges from this beautiful fusion, absorbing all these diverse influences.
It's like its own cultural microcosm.
Exactly. And one of the key things that distinguishes it is the scoring. It's way more complex than most people probably expect. We're not just talking about, simple tile combinations here.
It's not just about getting a full house, huh?
No, it's like instead of aiming for a straight flush, you're
Huh.
trying to achieve some legendary poker hand that nobody's even heard of. It's all about creating these very specific, often intricate hands.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
hmm
Adds a little more, I don't know, mystique.
Exactly. And the best part, the game's still evolving. It's just like Hong Kong itself, always adapting and transforming. You get regional variations, new rules. It's a living, breathing game.
Okay, so we've got this game, right? Steeped in history, more rules than a rule book. Sounds a little intimidating, honestly. Where do we even start?
Well, remember those notes you mentioned? The ones from our listener?
Yeah, they were really something.
They actually included this whole structured learning path, which is perfect for anyone just starting out.
Oh, right. They talked about starting with the basics, like the tiles and the point of the game.
Exactly. So let's
Yeah.
start there.
Okay, so what is the goal? Is it like, I don't know, poker, where you just want to get the best hand possible?
It's a little more nuanced. It's almost like building a puzzle. But instead of a picture, you're aiming for these very specific combinations of tiles, sets, sequences, and all those unique Hong Kong-style hands we talked about earlier.
Okay, so I can't just slap down a handful of tiles and yell gin.
Not quite. There's a whole lot of strategy involved. Remember how we were talking about the game being like a detective novel? Well, every time your opponent discards a tile, that's a clue.
Ooh, I like that. So I'm not just playing my hand, I'm trying to get inside my opponent's head.
You got it. You're watching their discards, trying to anticipate what they might be holding, what they're going for. It adds a really interesting layer of psychological strategy to the whole thing.
Okay, I can see how that would get intense.
Yeah?
So it's not just about the tiles in my hand, it's the ones that are gone too, right?
Yeah. Right. And don't forget about the wall, that stack of unplayed tiles.
So hold on, I need to remember all the tiles that have been played and all the ones that haven't. How am I supposed to keep track of all that?
Having a good memory definitely helps, but even just being aware of what's been discarded can give you an edge. It lets you make smarter choices about what tiles to keep and which ones to let go of.
I see. So every choice I make matters.
Every choice. And this is where things like aggression versus patience really come into play. Are you holding on to those tiles, hoping for a really high-scoring hand? Or are you going to play it safe, aim for a quicker, maybe lower-scoring win?
Wow, this is way more intense than I initially thought. I'm starting to sweat a little.
That's the beauty of it. It's a game that rewards careful planning just as much as it rewards a little bit of, well, daring.
I gotta say, my brain is getting a workout here, and I kind of love it. But with all this history, all the strategy, it feels like we're barely scratching the surface of the Hong Kong-style Mahjong universe. What's the next step?
Well, you're right. There's a lot more to it than just, memorizing the rules. It's about unlocking a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of strategizing. But that's what makes it so rewarding.
You've definitely got me hooked. And speaking of unlocking new ways of thinking, our listener had some really interesting thoughts on that in their notes about how to actually approach this whole learning curve.
Oh, yeah, they did. I especially liked what they said about taking it slow. Starting with those simpler versions of the game, maybe with fewer tiles or like a simplified scoring system. Get those fundamentals down before diving into the deep end.
It makes sense, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't jump on a black diamond ski slope on your first day ever on skis, right?
Mm.
Gotta get comfortable with the basics first.
Exactly. It's about building that confidence, that familiarity. And then, just like with skiing, practice makes all the difference. The more you play, the more intuitive all these strategies will become. You'll start to see those moves before your opponents even make them.
I love it. So you're saying one day I'll be the one at the table with the poker face, bamboozling everyone with my incredible tile reading skills.
I have absolutely no doubt you'll be unstoppable. And, you know, as you're on this Mahjong journey, here's one last thing to keep in mind.
Okay, lay it on me.
Don't get so caught up in all the technical stuff that you forget to appreciate what makes this game so special. We're talking about history, tradition. Don't lose sight of that. It's not just about winning or losing, it's about connecting with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it's about the experience. It's like you can listen to music, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you really understand the stories, the emotions behind it, that's when it becomes something more.
Exactly. And in a world that feels, I don't know, increasingly individualistic sometimes, that shared experience, that sense of community, I think it's more important now than ever.
It's amazing, isn't it, how something as, I don't know, seemingly simple as a bunch of tiles can bring people together like that? It's more than just a game.
Way more. And hey, who knows? Maybe the next time we do a deep dive, it'll be on your Hong Kong style Mahjong podcast.
Now, there's an idea. Listeners, if you're inspired, you know what to do. Get out there, explore, keep that curiosity alive. Until next time, happy diving, everybody.